Good morning, all. Hope all is well. Hope you did well on the Kahoot and maybe you even beat my score. Who knows? If you did, I would be very impressed. And I will definitely give a shout out for anyone that even came close. So, the first thing we're going to do is take a look at our vocab. Chapter 8 is another brief chapter, which is why we did that Kahoot. And we're also going to make sure that you go ahead and do the discussion questions for chapter 7 and 8 in multiple choice format on Schoology. Now, those are very brief, and that's the only indication I have that you're reading and understanding what you're reading. So please, you must do that every time we read a couple of chapters. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will take a quick look. So our first question, our first vocabulary word is going to be the word haze. And PowerPoint did this to me before. Oh, there we go. Through a haze of dreams, Anne-Marie heard Henrik rise and leave the house. So you probably understand the word hazy, and hazy means that kind of blurry. But here, haze is used like as a noun, and it's describing a haze of dreams. It's a thing. So think about if there's a haze, and this is used kind of figuratively, but you think about a haze as when it's kind of foggy out, there's a haze. So a haze of dreams is more figurative, and it means a state of mental confusion. Like if you're hazy, then you're fuzzy, just like it would be if there was something blurry in front of you. So a haze of dreams means you're confused. You're in a haze. But it wasn't a joke at all, though Mama laughed ruefully. So this is describing the way she laughed, and they're talking about something that wasn't a joke, but she was laughing at it. So think about how you might laugh if something's not really supposed to be funny. And it means to express sadness or regret, especially when in a slightly humorous way. Like, I can't believe I did that. I broke my ankle when I jumped off the shed when I was 14, and it was so foolish. Why would I jump off the shed? So this is, I would be saying that ruefully, like, oh, that was foolish of me. And yes, it's funny, but it's more sad, and boy, do I regret it. So let's get out of there for a sec, and we'll come up and we'll start chapter 8. There has been a death. Through a haze of dreams, Anne-Marie heard Henrik rise and leave the house, headed for the barn with his milking pail at daybreak. Later, when she woke again, it was morning. She could hear birds calling outside, one of them close by the window in the apple tree, and she could hear Mama below in the kitchen talking to Kirsty. Ellen was still asleep. The night before, so shortened by the soldiers in the Copenhagen apartment, seemed long ago. Anne-Marie rose quietly so that she wouldn't wake her friend. She pulled on her clothes and went down to the narrow, curved staircase to find her sister kneeling on the kitchen floor, trying to make the gray kitten drink from the water bowl. Silly, she said. Kittens like milk, not water. I'm teaching this one new habits, Kirsty explained importantly. And I have named him Thor, for the god of thunder. Anne-Marie burst out laughing. She looked at the tiny kitten, who was shaking his head, irritated at his wet whiskers, as Kirsty kept trying to dip his face into the water. God of thunder, Anne-Marie said. He looks as if he would run and hide if there was a thunderstorm. He has a mother someplace who would comfort him, I imagine, Mama said. And when he wants milk, he'll find his mama. Or he could go visit the cow, Kirsty said. Although Uncle Henrik no longer raised crops on the farm, as his parents had, he still kept a cow who munched happily on the meadow grass and gave a little milk each day in return. Now and then he was able to send cheese into Copenhagen to his sister's family. This morning, Anne-Marie noticed with delight Mama had made oatmeal, and there was a pitcher of cream on the table. It was a very long time since she had tasted cream. At home, they had bread and tea every morning. Mama followed Anne-Marie's eyes to the pitcher. Fresh from Blossom, she said. Henrik milks her every morning before he leaves for the boat. And, she added, there's butter too. Usually not even Henrik has butter, but he managed to save a little this time. Save a little from what? Anne-Marie asked, spooning oatmeal into a floured bowl. Don't tell me the soldiers try to, what's the word, relocate? Butter too? She laughed at her own joke. But it wasn't a joke at all, though Mama laughed ruefully. They do, she said. They relocate all the farmers' butter right into the stomach of their army. I suppose that if they knew Henrik had kept this tiny bit, they would come with guns and march it away down the path. Kirsty joined their laughter as the three of them pictured a mound of frightened butter under military arrest. The kitten darted away when Kirsty's attention was distracted and settled on the windowsill. Suddenly, here in this sunlit kitchen, with cream in a pitcher and a bird in the apple tree beside the door, and out in the Kattegat where Uncle Henrik, surrounded by bright blue sky and water, pulled in his nets with shiny silver fish, suddenly the specter of guns and grim-faced soldiers seemed nothing more than a ghost story, a joke with which to frighten children in the dark. Ellen appeared in the doorway, smiling sleepily, and Mama put another floured bowl of steaming oatmeal on the old wooden table. Cream, Anne-Marie said, gesturing to the pitcher with a grin. All day long, the girls played out of doors under the brilliant, clear sky and sun. Anne-Marie took Ellen to the small pasture beyond the barn and introduced her to Blossom, who gave a lazy, rough-textured lick to the palm of Ellen's hand when she extended it timidly. The kitten scampered about and chased high insects across the meadow. The girls, I think they meant flying insects across the meadow. The girls picked armfuls of wildflowers, dried brown now by the early fall chill, and arranged them in pots and pitchers until the tabletops were crowded with their bouquets. Inside the house, Mama scrubbed and dusted, tisking at Uncle Henrik's untidy housekeeping. She took the rugs out to the clothesline and beat them with a sticky, scattering dust into the air. He needs a wife, she said, shaking her head, and attacked the old wooden floors with a broom while the rugs aired. Just look at this, she said, opening the door to the little used formal living room with its old-fashioned furniture. He never dusts. And she picked up her cleaning rags. And Kirsty, she added, the god of thunder made a very small rain shower in the corner of the kitchen floor. Keep an eye on him. Late in the afternoon, Uncle Henrik came home. He grinned when he saw the newly cleaned and polished house, the double doors to the living room wide open, the rugs aired, and the windows washed. Henrik, you need a wife, Mama scolded him. Uncle Henrik laughed and joined Mama on the steps near the kitchen door. Why do I need a wife when I have a sister? He asked in a booming voice. Mama sighed, but her eyes were twinkling. And you need to stay home more often to take care of the house. This step is broken, and there's a leaking faucet in the kitchen, and just for foreshadowing purposes, I don't know if you picked up on it. Maybe I wouldn't have, except I've read this a bunch of times. 2 times now they've mentioned the broken step. So that might have something coming up in the future. Remember we talked about whenever you see something kind of random, you're like, why do they keep mentioning the broken step? It's on the porch in front. Henrik was grinning at her, shaking his head in mock dismay. And there are mice in the attic, and my brown sweater has a big moth hole in the sleeve. And if I don't wash the windows soon, they laughed together. Anyway, Mama said, I've opened every window, Henrik, to let the air in and the sunlight. Thank goodness it's such a beautiful day. Tomorrow will be a day for fishing, Henrik said, his smile disappearing. Remember that kind of code that they were talking about? Is it a good day for fishing? So what's going to happen tomorrow? Anne-Marie listening, recognized the odd phrase. Papa had said something like it on the telephone. Is the weather good for fishing, Henrik? Papa had asked. But what did it mean? Henrik went fishing every day, rain or shine. Denmark's fishermen didn't wait for sunny days to take their boats out and throw their nets into the sea. Anne-Marie, silent, sitting with Ellen under the apple tree, watched her uncle. Mama looked at him. The weather is right, she asked. Henrik nodded and looked at the sky. He smelled the air. I will be going back to the boat tonight after supper. We will leave very early in the morning. I will stay on the boat all night. Anne-Marie wondered what it would be like to be on a boat all night, to lie at anchor, hearing the sea slap against the sides, to see the stars from your place on the sea. You have prepared the living room? Uncle Henrik asked suddenly. Mama nodded. It's cleaned, and I moved the furniture a bit to make room. And you saw the flowers, she added. I hadn't thought of it, but the girls picked dried flowers from the meadow. Prepared the living room for what? Anne Marie asked. Why did you move the furniture? Mama looked at Uncle Henrik. He had reached down for the kitten, scampering past, and now held it against his chest and scratched its chin gently. It arched its small back with pleasure. Well, girls, he said, it's a sad event, but not too sad, really, because she was very, very old. There has been a death, and tonight your great Aunt Bertie will be resting in the living room in her casket before she is buried tomorrow. It is the old custom, you know, for the dead to rest at home and their loved ones to be with them before burial. Kirsty was listening with a fascinated look. Right here, she asked? A dead person right here? Anne Marie said nothing. She was confused. This was the first she had heard of a death in the family. No one had called Copenhagen to say that there had been a death. No one had seemed sad. And most puzzling of all, she had never heard the name before. Great Aunt Bertie? Surely she would have known if she had a relative by that name. Kirsty might not. Kirsty was little and didn't pay attention to such things. But Anne Marie did. She had always been fascinated by her mother's stories of her own childhood. She remembered the names of all the cousins, the great aunts and uncles, who had been a tease, who had been a grouch, who had been such a scold that their husband had finally moved away to a different house, though they continued to have dinner together every night. Such wonderful, interesting stories filled with colorful personalities of her mother's family. And Anne Marie was quite certain, though she said nothing. There was no great Aunt Bertie. She didn't exist. Okay, so now there's like a mystery there. So there's a funeral and someone's being buried, but they have no idea who it is. And we really don't know why at this point. We can let our imagination kind of wander a bit, but I'm not sure where I would go with that if I didn't know it all. I know, because I've read it. So I can't say. All right. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Take the 8 and 9 and see you here tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye, guys.